Okay guys, I realize I am a bit late with my girlfriend's story, but when you read my latest update, you'll see that I was quite consumed with what was happening to us. Nothing happened since the incident last night. Police called to check in with us this morning. They still have no clue what is going on. So her story. Let me begin by telling you a bit about us. As I said before, I was born in Bosnia and moved to a nearby country in the Balkans where I grew up. I came to the US over 6 years ago. My girlfriend was born in India and grew up in Kenya until she was 3 when she moved to Canada. I met her a little over a year ago, and we've been together since. So, my girl, let's call her Lila, did have a few encounters with Rose. The first one that she remembers was on the plane. She was a flight attendant for Air Canada for several years. One day, about 6 years ago, she was flying her regular flight, but she couldn't remember what destination it was. It lasted maybe 2 hours. Once they took off and seatbelt signs went away, she got up to serve complimentary drinks. Halfway through her section, she met Rose. She didn't know it at the time, of course. She said that something was terribly off about the woman. She had this creepy grin on her face, was really pale, and kept staring at her. When Lila offered her a drink and some snacks, she got no answer, only a wider and creepier fucking smile. Then, Rose spoke. "I have something for you," she said in a voice that definitely wasn't natural for a woman her age. Her voice belonged more to a teenager than an adult. There was something playful but terrifying in it. Now, Lila has seen some shit while flying, so she wasn't taken aback by this interaction. "Yeah, and what would that be, ma'am?" "Don't patronize me, you bitch," she said that fast, like really fast. Her jaw was closed while saying that. Then she started grinding her teeth, never letting go of that fucking smile. This was a red flag for Lila. When passengers get aggressive, attendants walk away unless there is physical contact. "I have this for you," she whispered, taking an orange from behind her back, never moving a muscle on her face. Still a teenage voice, like when a 12-year-old hits puberty kind of voice. "No, thanks." Lila decided to call it a day with the crazy cunt and walk away. "Oh, but you should. Or one day, one day." And that's that. Lila gave her the fuck off look and walked away. Lady never bothered her again during that flight. Lila went home a few days later and didn't think much of what had happened. When her mom asked her how her flight was, Lila smiled and said good, other than one really crazy lady. Mom wanted to hear more, so Lila started telling her about what happened. By the time she said the word orange, her mom started crying. Lila was in shock. It was story time. Well, apparently, when my girlfriend was a baby in Kenya, she had woken her parents up a few times with loud crying. When they'd walk into her room, she'd have an orange next to her in her crib. Everything in the house would be locked though. Windows, doors, everything. It got to the point where her parents moved the crib into their room and installed security cameras. Well, on Lila's 3rd birthday, that morning, when they woke up, they saw an orange lying on Lila's chest. They were absolutely taken over by horror. They called the police. The police came and looked over the camera footage. Cameras clearly showed a woman opening the front door that was locked, walking into their room, placing an orange on Lila. For like an hour, just standing there, with her head tilted to the left, looking at her. By this point, it is unnecessary to say that Lila was completely horrified. Her mom wasn't doing much better either. Anyway, to keep the story going, her parents didn't know what to do. Police couldn't find the mysterious woman, and no security measure, other than 24/7's bodyguards, which they couldn't afford, was enough. Some of their family was already in Canada and were pressuring them to move, so this incident was a final push. They moved and left this creature with an orange behind. Until that day, on that flight, Lila was completely unable to do anything for the next few days after that conversation. She didn't eat much and didn't communicate with anyone. After a while, she got better. There was no sign of further horror, so she started believing it was all a fucked up coincidence. and she went on with her life. She hasn't seen Rose in years after that. The last time she encountered Rose was 1 month before she met me. Lila did many transatlantic flights. She loved those. Long travels, decent money, seeing the world. She had it all. 1 month before we met, she was coming back from a Hong Kong trip. She flew to Toronto, I believe. The crew had a nice hotel, and everyone had their own room. Lila was on the 3rd floor. She loved drinking at that time and got pretty drunk that night. She passed out at about 1 a.m. At around 4 a.m., she heard a knock on the door. Then another one, and then another one. But they weren't loud or fast knocks. No, they were slow and silent, yet loud enough to wake her drunk ass up. She rolled out of bed thinking it was one of her equally drunk crew members. Not thinking much, she opened the door, and there she stood. Lila said that the lights in her room were off, but the TV was on. Light from the screen was shining on Rose's face, shining on the grin, shining on the pearly white teeth, bright red lipstick, and a white face paired up with a tilted head. You know how when you're drunk and some scary shit, accident, cops, etc. happens, and you sober the fuck up immediately. She just let out this helpless sound of horror. They both stood there. Rose started rocking back and forth. Every time she'd rock back, she'd reveal red shoes hidden underneath her white dress. Her teeth were grinding. Then she pulled out an orange. "What do you want from me?" Lila begged. Rose kept rocking with a smile. "Please, just leave me alone. I don't have anything." You take it.
You take it now. He will too.
She said that with that same teenage voice, only a little more playful tone was used this time. Like a happy-ish child. Don't know if it was her defense mechanism activating, but Lila took the fucking orange and threw it over Rose's head and screamed, "Get the fuck out of here. And take this shit with you, you freak." That was the first time either of us saw Rose lose her smile. White teeth disappeared underneath the thick red lips. Head went back from a gentle tilt into its natural position. "I will see you two soon." She said it in an adult voice, and this voice was scarier than the teenage one. Lila says it's because it sounded real, like a conscious, normal person making a threat. Of course, at that time, Lila didn't know me and no idea who you two were. She assumed it'd be her mom. That brings us to today. Yeah, if you read the update from my previous story, you saw that our room was broken into by Rose. Logical assumption. Pictures of the break-in were taken before police came. Some stuff in our room was moved around. We are scared as fuck, clueless as to what's going on. I will be Skyping with my mom soon to see if she has any answers. Lila will talk to her mom as well. I am personally just shocked at these developments. I never believed anything like this was even possible. Quite honestly, if one of you wrote this story here, I wouldn't believe the shit you said. And I can't blame you if you don't believe me. But if you have any idea about what this might be, I'm all ears. I assume it's some sort of a cult, but the only thing that fucks with my head is the fact that Rose knew my girlfriend before I did. Everything so far could have been explained in a logical way. But this took it to a super fucking natural level. Were they putting an effort into getting us together? How'd they do that? And more importantly, why? For what possible benefit? Fuck this, man. Fuck this. Hey guys, I promised pictures and updates, so here we go. I will also respond to some questions. So, first things first, let me bring you up to speed. We have not had any encounters with Rose since last night's break-in. Police called this morning to check on us and told us to stay careful and call should anything happen. I talked to my mother on Skype and it was, well, disappointing. She only knew Rose as a normal person. She actually doesn't even remember Rose asking about me much. She never got the hint that Rose may be a crazy cunt. My parents are now really worried. Not sure if they think I'm going crazy or if they are legitimately afraid for my well-being. Lila hasn't gotten a hold of her mom at this point. Her mom is in England. We've been talking a lot. We decided that it must be some cult in action since neither of us are believers in the spiritual side. It is hard to explain how Rose would know us both before we met each other. I got tons of messages asking me about how we met. That's a good question, and I forgot to include that part in my story. Basically, last summer I was out with my best friend in a club. The club closes at 1 a.m., and then everyone gets in front of it and sort of chills for a while. We were standing outside when this older man came up to us. He started openly hitting on me. I am far from a homophobe, but this man was persistent. Then I heard Lila's voice. I turned around and saw her sitting on the nearby bench with two of her girlfriends. I realized she was talking to me. The look on her face told me everything. I said, "Excuse me, my girlfriend is waiting," and walked away and sat with Lila. He came after me. Lila and I had an immediate chemistry. Man didn't believe us that we were together and kept asking questions about us, but Lila and I played off each other so well that he finally decided we were telling the truth and left. We kissed that night. She was visiting that town for only 2 days, but promised to come back and see me. And she did 2 weeks later. We've been together since. I realized that some may suggest that the man was part of the cult and try to force us onto each other, but it still took free will from both of us to do what we did, so I doubt the possibility of that conspiracy. Lila is in bad mental shape right now. She is terrified and jumps on every little noise. I don't know how to help. I am scared myself, but I'm trying to appear strong for her. Some of you have suggested that this story is fake. I will say this. I am fully aware of how incredible this all sounds, and this is exactly why I posted it here. Many of you helped with advice and kind words, and I thank you guys. Others that don't believe me, you can view the story as a piece of shitty fiction. I never said it'd be good, just true. If you guys feel that the story of my baptism may have something to do with this, I will find time to write it, although I have to note that you are an impatient bunch. Please realize that we are going through a lot right now. So, I snapped a few pics before the police came. Also, after they left the orange, I noticed something engraved on the peel. I took a photo of that too. Bottom word I was able to decipher. It says Otvori, which means open in my language. Top word I can't tell what it is. I don't know what to do with the orange. I still have it. We'll throw it out soon. Enough bullshitting. If anyone can make any sense out of this, I'd appreciate any help at this point. The Polaroid picture is at the police station, but the cop I know told me that if nothing happens within a few days, I'd be able to at least come and make a copy of it if I really wanted to. I told my mother what's going on, and she asked to see the picture on my laptop. She recognized it. The woman in the picture is her friend from when I was a child, and the kid in the picture is her son. She doesn't know where the pic came from, or that it was ever taken for that matter. My mom said she spoke to my grandma who still lives in Bosnia, and my grandma seems to know something. I will have to call her tomorrow. Later on, I will upload the desktop pic that was put on my laptop. Still in search of original files and/or hidden folders. That's all for now.